Good early evening. It's joyful Christian Hermit, striving to improve and be on the narrow pathway. No, lay down, lay down. They were just laying so peacefully, I thought I could do this. Lay down, Lovey and Mercy. Lay down. No, lay down. I'm going to do a sharing of someone I find very inspirational. She's a spiritual friend of mine of 20 years or so now. And she's had much suffering. She had hereditary illness that became more prominent. I think probably after she had children, married, and it's been probably 12, 13 years ago. Her illness, a mental illness, became so severe she had to have extreme treatments that aren't really done that often anymore. And she's on strong medication. And her husband had retired or semi-retired, was a professor and an artist. In his retirement, was being a professor. And his whole life had to change, as her life did. Their marriage, everything. And they got through it by he became involved in the parish. She did too. He became, he became a sacristan even during the weekday masses and then weekend. And even would be sacristan when the bishop was there. An altar server also. Both very humble people, very intelligent, talented people, lovely family that was very supportive, and they have become sanctified in the last 12 years. I've seen it happen, and through her writing, texting daily, we read over the daily scriptures, each on our own, and she'll choose a gospel selection, a line or two or more of it for us to focus on. And I'll usually send, I have a site that gives more unusual, different saints, not as famous, ones that she hasn't heard of, and she really enjoys that. But and she prays for me, she's been praying for my health, and they have friends of his from the art world come and stay, and relatives come visit, and she outreaches to an elderly woman. Well, she's, I think, a year older than me, or a year and a half older, and helps this older woman who's in her late 80s with needs and who has some kind of a disability, maybe was slow in life, not born with lack of oxygen, but just slightly disabled in that way, and doesn't have family and or not near. And it's hard for people like that to have friends, to sustain friendships, and my friend knows that, as do I, from my disability, my spine and my pain, and not being able to really be active and social. And so she ministers to this woman and calls her and has a nice friendship, and other good friends there through their parish, and belongs to a parish book club. And they don't do all Catholic books or things like that, but they read books of current interest and social awareness. Good books like that can be also fiction. So I asked her, I said, you really are inspiring me. Her daily schedule, she took up knitting maybe a year or two ago, And I pointed out she's a fiber artist. She produces beautiful works and donates a lot of her work to parish auctions or gifting people. She wrote back. I didn't ask specifically, but I'm thrilled that she wrote and sort of gave me a feel. I asked about it, of her daily, what I would call her orarium. Hermits have those, or can, an orarium, an hourly schedule, so to speak. And of course, if you have health issues or pain issues, I can't be on a strict orarium. But years ago, when I first started out and wasn't as, I'd have pain sieges, but daily I wasn't in as much pain. A lot of pain, but not this severe. And didn't have as many, other ailment. But I was on an orarium for about a year and a half. And the person guiding me had said, well, you don't have to have it strict, strict because of my situation. And I was really like a postulant and a novice type in that range of learning the hermit life. I hadn't had my vows yet, and so my spiritual father guided me. And for a while, I was also in a community that we stayed in our own locales and corresponded and learned what we were to do, and had excellent books I was told to read that really helped me learn a great deal about hermit life. And then we would write back and forth, and that was when I learned more of the particulars from a Carthusian standpoint. This woman was being guided by a Carthusian prior at Parkminster in England. So it was a hermit life with a Carthusian bent to it, historical, that she was interested in, and I learned some of that. So I then when my son would come home from school, he was a senior in high school, I would spend time with him. He would do his homework, go off to his job as a lifeguard, or talk on the phone or practice his music or things like that. He started a band and played guitar and wrote music too. So he was busy and had friends too that he would interact with after school or later at night, talk on the phone. So then when he was engaged with something he wanted to do, I would go back to my hermit life, my reading or praying or things like that. But I had all day long also to learn and to do and to follow more of an orarium, except when I'd have pain sieges, then I would go off. But so I was fascinated though with my friends increasing devotion and her life and her holiness that has evolved from her out of her illness. And her husband, they had major life change of their relationship and everything, how they were going to proceed after she had these severe bouts with her illness and had to have such extreme treatments that took chunks of her memory. But her intelligence is very intact, and he got more involved in the very nearby church from where they live, and the one they'd been members of, and she got a little more involved, not as much during the week, but weekly mass, goes to mass, and programs that they might have, classes or something that they have during Lent. Usually their priest will put on some type of class of spiritual instruction, and they'll both go to that. meets usually once a week at night or twice a week. And then I said the Catholic book club she's involved in. And so this is part of her daily life. She mentions when I knit, usually I am watching the Rosary, the Divine Mercy Chaplet, Adoration, or the local news. So she knits while she has TV on with EWTN, providing these. And she also could do it on computer. I think they have a desktop computer. I have a laptop because of my needing to be laying down and in bed a lot. But she watches, they have a television and a cable. I don't have a TV. I could see it on EWTN on my computer. But I like more silence. Of course, Adoration would be silent that she watches. But she follows along and prays the Rosary with the EWTN Rosary and prays the Divine Mercy Chaplet while she's knitting at the same time. And she mentions the time in her time zone at EWTN. These things are on EWTN. And the news, I think it's EWTN news maybe, but they give world news and things, which she watches a half hour. So she says part of my knitting time is spent praying. She usually spends 1 hour knitting per day, except on weekends when it's less. And she always is baking. Every day she bakes a special bread of some sort. And today it was an apple cinnamon nut loaf. And she also did laundry. Their adult son lives there. He works outside of the home. And the husband's there. And he does his artwork. He does religious art, scripture art, I call it. But he'll take scriptures. Or he did a whole series on the Psalms. He did a painting of every psalm. Or he also does woodcuts and prints, wood prints, and then paints those at times, tints or paints, uses color with them. So he works on that, and gardens with the adult son in spring and summer, and she cooks also. She does a lot of the cooking. Goes to Mass. And she mentioned an additional program she watched today. Well, this actually would have been yesterday. That I'm reading this from her yesterday report last night. That she watched a program on EWTN about Blessed Giorgio Frassati. She also watched a program that feeds the poor children and orphans in 17 countries. It's called Mary's Wheels. So that was featured also on EWTN. And then went ahead and gave me the quote from the gospel that we will focus on together. And I know also that she prays otherwise, and then in the evening, and then her husband does the driving. She doesn't drive, but they go to the grocery, usually 3 or 4 times a week. She's interested in both of them, in unusual fruits or things. They really appreciate life and life. So, and then if they have guests come, relatives or other guests, friends, joint friendships, that they will make a special meal. They both cook together, create things together. If there's a special meal, she'll make the lasagna or if there's something special from their heritage, he'll help make, or like a soup. He makes a special beet soup with the Polish names. He has Polish background in his family, and she has German and Italian. The dogs are really playing now. They're really playing, squeaking toys and jumping up and down off the bed. But that gives you an idea. And in the evening then, together they'll watch a couple of programs or a nice movie on TV or through Netflix. I think they have Netflix. But usually a good movie, something meaningful or of interest. And, I mentioned before, she'll go visit this other person, this older woman, and take something to her, or they'll do the shopping for her also, like my neighbor did for me when sick, or if she can't get to a doctor appointment, we'll take her. So, and then they do their own. So it's really but she has become very holy. She has grown in this daily routine of combined prayer, study, scripture, guided through EWTN, goes, with the devotional prayers, Divine Mercy Chaplet and Rosary, and Saint program or some other program of the temporal world. Her husband, once a week, goes to a nearby Franciscan soup kitchen and helps serve. And it's an example of how anyone can live a religious life. I think she was taught by Dominican sisters as a child, and he was in a Jesuit high school, so they have fondness for those two. And Lovey, you need to go out. So anyway, I'll stop. He has to go out, but they're just an example of how anyone can become holy. So I don't want him to have an accident. I think he really has to go. So think on that, and let's all live the life God desires of us and wills for us, and form it in the way you wish and allows for your life. And it doesn't have to happen quickly. It's been a transformation of 12 years. It's amazing. It's inspirational to me. I tell her she's a guide for me, a mentor for me. So when she practices the virtues, they both do. It's great. God bless His real presence in us.